My name is Fred Cook, and I drive school bus.
My name is Leanne Murchie, and I'm a school bus driver for TCAPS. It's been a very wonderful experience.
When I first hired in, one of the previous bus drivers told me that this particular job, driving school bus, is the best job on earth. So I immediately took to it, and I have to agree that this is one of the best jobs that anyone can do.
What prompted me in the very beginning, I have a college degree, and she said, "You're in the safest vehicle in the world on the road." So I thought, well, I'm gonna try. Because I would be on the same time schedule as my own children. And when they were off, I was off. When holidays, I was there. So it was the best of both worlds. TCAPS offers jobs elsewhere within the system.
Between routes, I used to, for 12, 13 years, I did lunch duty over at East Middle School, and now I paint.
They're real good about finding people the hours that they need during the course of the day to make the job great. We have Mesa Insurance. The whole district has it. It's awesome. It's the best health insurance. We offer a 401k. There's a sign-on bonus. It's a win-win situation.
The most important thing I think...
But we will go ahead and call this meeting of the Board Finance and Operations Committee to order. The committee would like to welcome our viewers and our audience, and viewers may watch the board committee meetings live on TV 190 or online at tcaps.net/board. Recorded meetings may be viewed on demand at the same address. Julie, it doesn't look like we have any public comment.
We do not.
Okay. So we will move right along to our procedural items, and that's the draft committee meeting minutes from our April 5th meeting. Do we have any changes?
No.
All right, so they will stand as submitted. Moving on. Bid services and purchases. So I will defer to Christine Thomas Hill.
Yep, so the first item we have on here is a district copier upgrade. We have built into our bond planning for quite some time now, an upgrade to our district copiers every 5 or 6 years. It used to be a really, really lengthy process, but I would say that Cindy's got it down to a science. And she'll go over what we've done for this latest update and some of the other technology we'd like to incorporate. But this is a bond expenditure with additional expenses out of general fund for per copy clicks and things like that. So I'll let her go over kind of the analysis and the recommendation.
Yep. So the recommendation, just as Christine had mentioned, is for the replacement and upgrades of the copiers. This project is a little bit different though, because we wanted to also pull in the district printers as well. Currently, the technology department oversees all of our district printers with the site budgets paying for toner, and then the technology department paying for all of the services on these printers. The problem that we're having with what we currently have in the district is that there's some security vulnerabilities with these printers because they're so outdated, very, very old. So we thought that this was a perfect time to pull in those old printers and assess and adjust to determine what we need to replace and what we can eliminate. And we thought we would pull it into this scope of work with the copier so they can be on the same replacement schedule moving forward. So in doing so, we worked with 2 purchasing cooperatives. The first one is Michigan Intergovernmental Trade Network, which is called MITN. That's the acronym, and that is the purchasing cooperative that we're using for our copiers. And then for the printers, we're using MAC, and that is Michigan Association of Counties. And so what we're recommending is to not only get the copiers and printers, well, the copiers are all going to be replaced, but the printers, as we see fit, will be replaced as well. But we would like to use Applied Innovations. Well, it's Applied Imaging, but they've changed their name to Applied Innovations for not only the copier upgrades, but then also the printers. as well as the service contract. So the recommendation is also to move forward with a service contract with Applied Innovations for 5 years. All supply, well, and I've listed some factors too that I can go over as to the reasons why we wanted to go with this route. The first one is Applied Innovations has supported TCAPS and our service needs on a 1-year extended contract without an increase of the copy per click rate, and that's what we call the CPC rate. And then the service maintenance agreement will include all preventative maintenance, supplies, services required for the life of the contract at no additional cost for the district. This is a big deal because, like I mentioned before, with the printers, we've been paying for toner, we've been paying for service on all of our printers. That will all be incorporated, and it'll just go with ease, as our copiers do. Also, it's going to be a Ricoh to Ricoh and/or the Hewlett-Packard is what the printers that we currently have. Hewlett-Packard to Hewlett-Packard upgrade, which creates that ease of transition. And because we currently have those in the district, with this being set to all of them be replaced in the summertime, when all of the staff come back, there won't be any training that will be necessary. They'll just be able to go right in and start using them.
Start
Just
making
great.
copies.
Making copies, that's right. Also, the Applied Innovations service technicians have a well-established reputation, and they work very well with the staff members currently in our district. They absolutely, like, you call them and they're there. So, I mean, they're very quick with the switch to help us out. And then also in this, we're using some lean principles by reducing the overall quantity of printers that we're replacing by approximately 57. So we're going to be getting rid of quite a few, and I'm really excited about that. That poses security risk for the district. Also, we're going to be standardizing and reducing the total number of fax units as we kind of move forward into the 2020s.
Yeah,
We're realizing that we don't need as many fax numbers as what we had.
Can you believe we still need them at all?
I
Yeah.
know. I was trying to think when I was reading this, when the last time was I sent a fax.
I know. We do require some, like the state of Michigan requires faxing back and forth, believe it or not. Yeah, so we do need to have a few, but this project has allowed us to kind of assess and adjust. And what we're able to do is reduce especially for the secondaries, reduce the amount of fax units needed to just one per building, which is good.
You know, you would think with the security risk that a fax machine would be more vulnerable
Yep.
to a security breach.
So one thing that the technology department is working on, and we're not there yet, I was hoping to have this for this go around, but they're not there yet, is an eFax, where they'll be able to like scan and then have the ability to fax it within. And that way you don't actually need the unit, but you still need a number, but we're not there yet to be able to do that. And hopefully by that time, we won't even need faxing. That'll be completely eliminated. We're still maintaining that competitive copy per click rate or CPC rate to support the budgetary needs. So Wes and Sandy know what's going on. We're not raising the cost at all, while also producing an estimated general fund savings is approximately $8,700. So we'll save some money while doing this. And then we're also receiving a trade-in credit from Applied Imaging Innovations for all of our copiers that we have out in the district, as well as all the very, very old antiquated printers. So they'll take them out of here and we have new ones. So last but not least, the total amount of the copiers and printers has a 5% contingency. The total is $385,327 that we are recommending, and that will be funded through capital bond funds.
Okay.
Questions?
Did you have any questions?
No?
Could you speak, either you or Christine, just for a second, because I was new to this, and can you talk about purchasing cooperatives and consortiums?
Yes.
Because
Yep.
that was a new term for me.
Yep.
It might be for
Yeah,
you as
so
well.
purchasing cooperatives allow districts, school districts such as us, public school districts, to, instead of going through the traditional bidding process, you can use a purchasing cooperative. They have essentially negotiated upfront that savings that a school district can take advantage of, while also meeting the requirements of the state of Michigan as well. So, and then it also allows us to, like the service agreement, it allows the purchasing manager like myself to go back and forth with the vendor to try to reduce that CPC rate as much as possible. And you can have that correlation, you can go back and forth with the vendor versus in a bidding process, the bids that you get are the bids that you have to receive, and that's it. So it just gives a little bit more, I think, power to the school district.
Yeah, it's power and quantity. So the state of Michigan has these, they essentially go to bid for you. And it's that concept that if all school districts use it, you might get a better pricing because of that quantity instead of just Traverse City Area Public Schools asking for pricing on such an item.
Yep, and any other governmental agency as well. can take
They've already
advantage.
done a lot of the legwork too.
They've done all the legwork, yep, yep.
You
So,
do that with drug companies. and other-
Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, then I think we should move this on to the full board for discussion. All right, move,
Discussion or consent?
full board for consent.
Okay,
Thank you.
sorry, I didn't mean to
No?
make that sound so
Good catch.
challenging. It came out a little harsher than it should have.
All right, next item, Christine, again, talking to us about some district vehicles.
Yes, so we have a couple of items here, and on the very first one, it is an additional van for the use of athletic and other travel for a minimal number of students, given our difficulties with having school bus drivers available for those trips, but also for a little bit of savings on general fund from renting these vehicles if we can own and maintain them ourselves. So as you know, we had already approved an electric van. We have for some time been reaching out to vendors to see if they have any more vans available. We just heard recently from Hoekstra that they do have a gas van they can order. And so we looked into that process. I wanted to bring to your attention on the initial memo that was included in the packet. I had included that as being part of a consortium, My Deal pricing, and I assumed that in error. Because it's an order of a vehicle, they can't use My Deal pricing. And so I did have a conversation with our attorney about this and the used vehicles on how that would work. It's almost like a single source type purchase, if you will, and so how do you go about doing that as a traditional bidding process? So we have followed board policy and the state of Michigan requirements for bidding by soliciting pricing or the availability to order these vehicles from several vendors. We reached out to 9 vendors. We only got one quote, and it came from Hoekstra, and nobody else can order these. And so the quote is attached from Hoekstra, but we have therefore solidified our requirement to bid because it's over the threshold by reaching out to those vendors and soliciting quotes. None of the other companies can order these vehicles. So the recommendation is through Hoekstra. It's just not My Deal pricing. So I just wanted to point that out, that I redid the memo and have included it in the online packet so that you see that.
Can I ask, why can't the other companies order them?
It's a 10-passenger vehicle, which includes the driver. It's a unique vehicle that really only public schools use because of Pupil Transportation Act regarding what vehicles can be used to transport students. It's just not something that a lot of companies are producing because they normally sit on them. Most general dealerships won't order them because it's a niche market. If it's not a school bus, we're limited to up to 10-passenger manufacturer rating vehicle. So-
And just recently, in the past few years, we've been able to use those vehicles, because weren't they kind of removed from the fleet of public schools? Because I know I wasn't able to get one for several years, and then all of a sudden, instead of taking a full bus to take 5 students somewhere,
Yeah,
I couldn't get a van. I had to take a full-size bus.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
is this
So
something
now-
relatively new that's come back into style?
Not really. It was related to emergency provisions in the law and what you can use because of the impact of the labor issues with bus drivers. So there was some flexibility there.
Will it be yellow?
No, it cannot be school bus yellow. That's specific to a vehicle over 10,000 pounds.
Will it have T-caps on the side?
We can put TCAPs on the side.
Usually like the emblem.
We usually order white, which is most of our trade vehicles, and we don't have TCAPs on the side of a lot of them, but we can do that. We haven't done it recently because our logo changed a couple times over and we still had some riding around and we didn't want to have the expense of changing it for the logo, but we certainly could add it if it was deemed necessary.
Just curious.
Any questions on the van?
Nope.
Okay, so I'll move on to the two used vehicles. Similar process for purchasing them. It was kind of an odd situation to try to go out for a general bid, so I talked to our attorney about how to go about this. And the conversation was to solicit bids or quotes, if you will, from as many dealerships that you could. And so we did that, and we got quotes back, which we've attached all of the ones that we received. And you can see they're used vehicles, right? So there's a wide range of mileage, prices, and all of the options on the vehicle. We're looking for two four-wheel drive vehicles that would be for in-district use. We have several employees that travel to all the schools probably on a daily basis, multiple times, and the expense of mileage reimbursement is getting to be quite expensive, and so our thought process is that we use these vehicles. We own and maintain them, therefore we can prolong the longevity of the vehicles, and we save a little bit on mileage reimbursement. The other thing is, the reason we're looking for two vehicles is because the two vehicles that are currently in use, one is being retired and one needs to be returned back to transportation. So we have an employee right now that is using a minivan, a TCAPS minivan that was used to use for student transportation. It's got a camera in it, and that really needs to go back to transportation for special ed uses. And so he would be left without a vehicle. So that's one of the two. And the other one would go to our safety and security coordinator.
All right.
Any questions on that?
Those are good prices
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I was
low
thinking.
mileage. I was happy to see
and low
that.
mileage, yeah.
And we did have one of our technicians check all the vehicles out and make a recommendation, so.
Okay, any other discussion on that? If not, we can move this on to the full board.
Consent.
All right, moving on, capital projects, West Middle School clinic space renovation. Dr. Van Wagner?
Do you want me to take this, John, or you want to give a summary?
Yeah, go ahead if you can, and then
Okay.
if I need to change anything, questions I will.
Okay, so as you know, we've been working in conjunction with, of course, I don't have it in front of me, Northern Michigan.
Yeah, Northwest Michigan Health
Or
Services.
something
Thank
like
you.
that.
So we've been working with them as it relates to providing a health clinic in the district, and they have sought after grants, and they have received a few grants. The challenge we have is, right now, bidding prices are quite high. As it relates to getting bids on projects of this dollar size, we're not really getting a lot of bids on those. I think there's so much work to be had that contractors will do it if they really can, but they're not able to really spend time on these and mark down prices on these because they have so much other work to do. So we weren't really too surprised that the original amount they anticipated it to cost, that the bids came back in higher just because of the market. But the fact of the matter is, right now, the amount that the group has for the renovations right now totals about $370, and you can see from the bids that we're short. So with the one bid being removed, the recommendation is to go to Eckler for about $450,000, and we typically add a little bit of a contingency so that if something comes along the way, we have some flexibility with doing that work prior to coming back to the board. So we're only recommending a small amount for that. But overall, this project is one that we would really like to move forward. And there is a commitment to TCAPS and Northern Michigan, say it right this time.
Northwest Michigan.
Northwest Michigan. Health Services. There's a commitment for us to continue to seek grants so that neither one of us are left with an overage, if you will. TCAPS has asked them to incorporate special security standards into the facility, which we would be able to cover some of those expenses in our safety and security categorical funds. And so that's something that we would like to recommend we move forward with as we're working with this group to cover the entire cost. But there are a couple more grants that we have out there that we would like to apply for. So right now, they're able to commit up to $370,000, and the recommendation would be that we commit to doing the project. and work with them going forward to lessen the cost for both entities.
And that, so then basically we would be picking up about 100,000, and that's because we kind of stipulated the vestibule, the safe
Yes.
vestibule, which we have money for that.
Yep, in the safety and security categorical.
Right.
Ideally, we'd like to find grants to lower that 100,000, but we're prepared to in the budget.
So if we need to, but that seems like for us chipping in the 100,000 and hopefully it being picked up by other grants, things, to have 100,000 towards this kind of service, I think is a tremendous win for us.
My concern, though, is that, what is it, $4,500 a square foot? Whoever's providing the money is an astronomical amount of money. Given, we're talking what, roughly 1,000 square
Yeah,
feet, something like
it's
that?
a little over 900.
Is it 450 or
Yes.
4,500? $450 a square
Yeah,
foot, not
no.
4,500.
Let me do the math. It's $500 a square foot.
500, not
Okay, I
4,500.
was
Yeah.
thinking it was more.
But I will tell you, in smaller projects, our bigger projects are averaging about 350 to 400 a square foot, so it's really not too far off base.
And
Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say that you've already stated that, you know, some projects aren't even getting bids.
Correct.
And so the price of everything has gone up. Not that, you know, that's a good excuse for anything, but that's the world in which we're kind of living in right now, especially in Traverse City.
I do believe there's an opportunity for their architect and Paul and the contractor that bid on this to review all the specifications once they get into the work and see if there's areas that we might be able to cut the cost a little bit. We have that flexibility once we award the contract. So there's a commitment to do that in addition to seeking grants to cover it.
We'll typically pair some of these projects together too that are smaller like this, so that they're bidding on more than one small project to make a bigger one, but there was nothing to put this one together with.
What's going to happen to the rest of the building? Will it continue to be used for curriculum storage?
Yes.
Okay. Is there going to be, so is that safe vestibule, is it going to be on the side where there's already the entrance? Or are we going to change the entrance to
Yeah,
face the
their
parking
entrance
lot?
is gonna face the parking lot, and we're committed to do a ramp and a staircase so that they're truly going directly there and not roaming the sidewalks towards the
Right,
school.
that was my concern.
Yep.
Okay.
Is this one gonna be comparable size to the one that's at Central? The clinic at Central?
To my knowledge, it's not a full-fledged clinic, it's a staff member. There's been no renovations at Central to provide this level of service. This is the same exact setup as the other ones they have. They have one in Muskegon. It's their template, if you will, for how they have a setup, because they have office space, they have a restroom needed, they have, what else is in there, Paul?
There's a couple of
Patient room.
exam rooms, if you
Yeah.
want to. I don't know that they're full-fledged exam rooms. And
It very
staff
much mirrors
space.
what they've done several other
privacy.
places
Privacy,
throughout
yeah.
Yeah,
the region.
privacy conversation.
Anasty's got one.
And this will have a PA and an RN in this facility, I believe.
Yeah, to my knowledge, yes, but I haven't been as detailed on that side of things. I've been more on the
Yeah, I can
capital.
bring some clarity to that. So Beth, really, the program that is at Central and at West High, that is just one person in an office. This is actually a full-fledged school-based health clinic that has a nurse practitioner and social worker and provides those services. And I had forwarded to the board. There was some questions on that. So really, they're patterning it exactly up the Manistee Health Clinic that they run with Manistee Public Schools. And so that's the information I provided to the board last night.
Okay. Will they do labs or anything like that there?
What was that again? I
Will
didn't
they
hear
do
that.
labs there?
No, anything like that would be passed on to a facility. They have to be that from that standpoint.
Okay. Just thinking, level of service. It almost is triage.
I mean, generally not. It's more like it's almost more like a pediatrics office in that way than a triage. You know, you're going to see more. I think lower level kind of medical things like that. Anything like that, would need to be passed on generally to, a medical doctor or a more of a specialty from that standpoint. This is a lot more of a screener from the physical health side than that. But it does have a full-fledged nurse practitioner.
And out of curiosity, does TCAPS have a school health nurse?
We
We
have
do-
two nurses on staff, two,
And they kind of circulate through
Yes.
the various schools?
Yep.
And they handle some of the chronic diseases, that kind of
they,
stuff?
they handle that, healthcare plans, training staff to accommodate students,
Yeah.
yes.
But this one also comes with a social worker. So we're talking about a nurse practitioner and a social worker who will be funded through the Northwest Community Health Service, correct, John?
Correct.
And that is correct, and it's actually under the same grant criteria that the West Middle School and Central High School social worker is. That's why one of the reasons it had to be at West Middle School is because you cannot have that same grant program running multiple positions in the same building. So that's why this building, they really wanted the most populous building that we had in line, and so West Middle School is our third largest building in the district. And the facility just happened to work perfect.
Anything else, Beth?
Just, I would hope there'd be coordination of services, because I'm hoping some of these kids also have outside community providers as well.
Yeah, and Beth, so you know, I actually talked to a large group that represents our local pediatricians and had that conversation. I actually did that early on to see how they felt as far as supporting it, and they were in full support from that standpoint of that, for especially the low income, that element, because we even talked about sports physicals, but they were very much like, well, we really would like to shy away from that, because sometimes that's the only time they maybe see their kids that are come to that private practice with their pediatrician. And so but they were definitely in support of it, and we've talked about, once it gets rolling, to try and sit down as a group and really hammer out, not that they're against like even doing sports physicals, but some way for them to figure out to be a part of that as the two major pediatrician groups that we have in town.
Okay. So sort of like extension.
Yeah, like I said, we agreed to have a meeting once we got it up and rolling, and so once that happens, we'll have them be a part of conversations for sure. But they were 100% in support of having the program and the school-based health clinic as presented.
Okay. It's hard for me to fathom utilization or the flow, or and just how all the records integrate and all that kind of thing. So.
Well, they have experience with it, and this is what they do. They have their own clinics here, in Grand Traverse County, and so. But this is a new venture. Definitely have a school-based health clinic here, and so. But they have experience in Manistee and others, and this is becoming a popular thing of seeing school-based health clinics across the country. So we think there will be some learning curve for sure, but we think professionally, that the nice thing is that they have some experience with that.
And it's another layer of services and protection for our students as well. That's what I see it.
Well, maybe you won't have to call ambulances as frequently.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different things,
Depending,
with
yeah.
kids that need care. So I think, like I said, we'll learn a lot for sure.
I'd be very interested in hearing how the use is.
Okay. All right. So I think we're able at this point then to move this on to the full board. All right, great, thank
Do
you.
you want that on discussion, just to be able to have that full
Just
discussion?
in case somebody has
And
questions.
Heidi Britton will be at that meeting?
Oh, okay. Yes,
So would it make
absolutely
sense then to put it on discussion?
She's gonna be there, then let's put that on discussion.
Okay.
Yeah. In case I think of another question.
All right, next item is a walk-in freezer at Traverse Heights. Paul?
Want me to do that one?
Yeah.
So, in the past, when we've done our renovation projects, Tom Freitas has been able to purchase a walk-in freezer at the same school, and we tack on the cost of installation, the small amount to the project that we're doing. You know, there's a little bit of electrical, a little bit of demo, but the purchase and installation of the freezer itself, Tom's been able to cover with some grants and some funding that he's gotten. And this time, the grants and the funding have run out, apparently. So we did an equipment sale, some old kitchen equipment that we got $15,000 for. And so what we're asking to do is to add the difference to the contingency at Traverse Heights for the project that's going on right now, just so that we're not deleting that contingency until we get to further along in the project and that. And that'll cover the cost of the freezer and the installation of the freezer, and then any of the additional work that's not involved, the electrical connections, some roofing work a little bit, that they have to put a hole in the roof, and some demo work. We'll cover that out of the contingency. With
And
the
have the
project.
existing contractors on site
Yep.
do that work.
And we'll just add it to the project instead of making it its own separate thing.
I know this has been an ongoing project of trying to get walk-in freezers on all of
I
our
was gonna ask.
campuses. So how many once this one is done at Traverse Heights, how many more campuses do we have
Boy,
to
how many
cover?
I
more?
knew that was coming. I know for sure he would like one at Traverse City High School.
That's the only other one that's on my list right now, because
Yeah.
we did Cortade, Silver Lake, Long Lake, Cherry Knoll.
Did we do it at Blair
Yes, we did.
and Westwoods?
Westwoods, yes. Yeah.
We're getting close. If not, I think, obviously Central Grade doesn't have one.
Yes, they do.
Well, yeah, they
We
do.
did, we did that one a few years ago, before we were doing
I
all the
bought
other
that.
renovations. It's an interior one. That's like this one will be an interior to the kitchen. Some of the other ones have been on the exterior of the buildings and that.
Okay. Any other questions, Beth?
No.
All right, move that to consent.
That one's easy.
Okay, now we're moving on to informational items, capital projects update. Paul?
Okay. I'm gonna breeze through these, because I put a lot of them on here. So if you see something you want to ask a question about, just stop me. We're over at Montessori here. Furniture installations are continuing through this week. Next week, another vendor will be there installing the rest of their stuff. And we still have to move existing furnishings over, but that won't happen until school's out. So final cleanup's going on. Furniture is getting distributed and set up in all the spaces, the main lobby, that's the principal's office right there. That's one of the classrooms. That's the language arts room,
Spanish.
Spanish, yeah.
Heavy wooden chairs and desks.
Yep.
No.
All wood.
All that
Chairs and desks.
Montessori
Yeah.
concept.
It's cafeteria. It's a library.
That looks nice.
This is one of the lower L, the early childhood rooms.
That's a toddler room.
Yep, toddler room. Another room on the lower L. You can see there's pieces that are kind of sitting there, look like they're floating out in the middle of nowhere. That's because there's existing bookcases that go between those round caps. And
That they're bringing over from
We'll bring
Leftovers.
over.
Okay.
It's out at West Senior High Athletic Complex. That's it's a trash enclosure in the foreground. That's the field house in the background. Just kind of swing around the softball field. The outfield fence is up. They're putting the scoreboards up. The lights are up. We got a call from the neighborhood a week or so ago because the lights were on, but that's because the contractor was out there aiming the lights. They have to do that at night. They can't do that during the day. So they're out there at night after dark aiming the lights. Again, the varsity baseball field, the fences are up. This is a visitor dugout on the JV fields. It's got to be finished yet. There's fencing that goes around and a roof that goes on it. The backstop, I think this one's the softball field backstop. There's a net system that goes on those 4 large poles that are on either side of the press box. This Trav Heights, the addition for the NWES. Yeah, they'll have all the rest of that. They might already have poured that concrete. I took these pictures earlier this week. So they were pouring concrete around the outside. The glass and glazing's almost all in. A couple of the doorways got to be finished yet. Drywall, going crazy on the inside. Things are getting finished up. They're through May here. A lot of the finish work will be going on. Cabinetry, casework, flooring, ceilings, and that we passed the sprinkler inspection here just this week, so they're moving pretty quick there. This is over at East Middle School. These are 2 classrooms we're renovating for the digital arts program over there. Basically, we're gutting them out, leaving a few cabinets in place, painting, and we're getting a new news desk, for lack of a better term to put in there.
And you said that's at East Middle?
East Middle School.
It's a old home ec rooms.
So we took a lot of the old kitchen equipments out of there, the countertops, and that a lot of the plumbing stuff's being capped under the floor. And then where the electrical is, we're putting floor boxes in, so they'll have a lot of flexibility in the space to where they power and have data. This is out at transportation. You can see all the buses have been parked to the north side of the transportation building. There's a fence now all the way around on the interior that blocks that off, and they're getting ready to start digging. And this is the interior where the bus wash is going. You can see the X's on the wall down at the end. That's where the door is going to be cut in for the one end of the bus wash.
And where are the drains?
There's a trench that's going to be cut in the floor that's going to run from one end to the other, and that's where all the drains will be. There's a block wall that's going to get built that will separate the wash area from the rest of this building.
And they have to raise the roof as well.
And they got to raise the roof. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
These are the tennis courts over at Central High. The fence is out, and then the tennis courts are gone.
Wow, that was quick.
And oh yeah, they're going to be paving it, repaving it, the end of next week, 4th and 5th of May, I think. There you go.
All right.
And then as always, we have the document at the end of the packet that shows upcoming district purchases. As you can see, we've got quite a few things coming at our next meeting for June.
Yeah, a lot of things getting done.
Well, real quick, Christy, do we have an update at all on budget numbers for some of the projects that we have going, including the STEM labs?
Yeah, that is on that document. So if you'll notice on the upcoming projects at the very bottom, because they're more than 3 months out, they're in the blue section. And so the estimated budget for Central and West STEM renovations, not estimated budget, the budget that we have allocated currently is 10 million. And then on the Thurlby Field, that one was put on hold because we did go out for bid and it was probably 2.5 times the amount we have allocated. So we've decided to hold on fencing at this time.
That's been bumped a couple of times, it seems like. Fencing.
Well, it was on hold as it relates to actually going out for bid, but we did go out for bid, and the costs were like $550 something, and
Yeah.
it's just the fencing
Well,
supply.
What was strange was I went right to the supplier of the fence and got a quote from him for the fence for what we needed. And then I doubled that to cover installation. And then I added another 25% on top of that just because of the environment. And I was still 2.5 times low. I
So all of that you just said was where you came up with this 275,000, and then the bid was twice?
something,
I think it was like 550.
Yeah, it wasn't,
Somewhere around
almost
there.
550.
And we're just talking chain link fencing?
No.
No, we're doing the no-scale fencing that's been done on 13th Street, the black, straight, taller fencing
Yeah, okay.
to finish the perimeter. So,
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's expensive.
It's the black fencing that's chain link only black.
it's not chain link, it's called no-scale fencing, so it doesn't have, it's vertical, it doesn't have those horizontal marks, which the thought process then is that people can't step on it to actually climb over it. That's why it's called no-scale.
It almost looks more like wrought iron, but it's not. I think it's more of an aluminum product.
It's a little
but it
bit taller,
has somewhat of that kind of look.
has a nicer look to it.
It's much nicer looking fence.
So that's what you're putting on all the playgrounds so the kids can play all the way up to the fence?
No,
in
no,
time?
this is just for Thurlby Field.
We used it over at TAC, at the athletic complex, and we're using some of it over at the new athletic complex at West too, just in certain areas.
All right.
Can I ask a question on the STEM labs?
Mhm.
Where are we in the process?
Sure.
Have you had meetings with all the interested parties?
Not
And
yet.
Is it,
Not yet. So we had, when working with architects, there's a couple of different processes. We're still in the schematic design phase where the first thing we do is identify programming needs and size and budget. And so the conversation that we have had so far with the architects is related to the size of the space, what type of addition, if any, we need to do. When they get back to us with some more of the comments we made incorporated into that, we will start meeting with staff, students, and parents, and then come back with a kind of a final so the architect can then continue on with construction documents.
when do you think that those facilities will actually be usable?
Well, I think construction can start as early as September. They might be able to be usable by the second semester in January. Is that correct, Paul? I don't have the
Yeah,
timeline.
that
in-
would be tough.
Okay,
I wouldn't commit to that.
yeah.
But, yeah,
That was
we
the
can start.
original
So the
intent.
next season, actually, they won't be able to use yet for robotics.
No.
Yeah.
And we have moved up the timeline, so we had originally, hadn't anticipated starting until a little bit later this year, so we moved up the timeline, so we're hoping part of the year, next year they can use it, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, it depends, if it was renovation, sure, we could get in. But with an addition, it's hard to say right now. No, it's like the addition at Trap Heights. That's moving gangbusters right now. That doesn't mean the next one will. It's just,
And that's a little smaller, though, than these STEM labs we're looking
And
at, so.
probably not quite as
yep, not quite as involved.
technical stuff.
But Christy, when do you anticipate we'll have those groups start meeting and corresponding with the student staff, parents and staff, to be able to get that hammered out?
I don't have an estimated time frame right now.
But it's probably this summer.
Yeah, we might be able to start a little bit before school gets out.
Before the guys that are graduating
Yeah.
leave.
Before the teachers leave for
Yeah.
summer break.
Get their input.
Some of the
Yeah, I don't
experience.
anticipate it being very long. It's just the architect is the one working on pre-bond planning. And so this week we've been completely focused on pre-bond planning and the community engagement sessions next week. So I'm sure that
Got a
updated.
full plate.
Yeah,
That's a nice segue into our next
it is, isn't it?
item on the.
Yeah.
So if there are no other questions about the update, all right, so pre-bond planning.
So I wanted to share an overall timeline, and we're working on finessing the timeline, if you will, so we can share that with board members and also on our website. That's a little bit of a work in progress. I'm sorry. We have been working on the survey. We got some feedback from board members, and we're incorporating it into the actual platform that we're going to use for the survey, and we hope to release that on Friday. So they've been working on incorporating pictures and kind of cleaning that up a little bit. And then if we have the survey out on Friday, then that's right before the community engagement sessions start. And so it'll be available to anybody, whether they're attending those sessions or not. The sessions will be taking place on May 1 and 2. We have them scheduled at every site, so we'll have an architect and construction manager or a makeup of those represented at every meeting, and a TCAP staff member to be able to share overall the reason that we're here. The board has developed a strategic plan. As part of that plan, we're looking for a 3 to 5 year facility plan. So the board went out for an RFP in order to get pre-bond planning services, which includes facility assessments, cost estimating, and feasibility studies, in addition to community outreach. And so this is part of that bigger plan to create a 3 to 5 year facilities plan. I know I keep saying plan. So we will have those sessions. We will provide input to the community members, parents, and staff as it relates to kind of where we are, current state, why we're doing what we're doing, and all the resources available for them to look into as it relates to what we've done with prior bonds. So we're including as part of the presentation all of the projects that we've done with proceeds from the 2018 bond. I'm not even sure that a lot of people know some of the projects that we've done. So making sure that we highlight those safety and security renovations and some of the other big projects we've done with the support of our community members, and having a really good conversation about our debt millage rate, which is one of the lowest in the state of Michigan. So just kind of having that conversation about what capital bond funds are, what they can be used for, what they can't be used for. And the process we're looking to have is to really get as much data as possible so the board can have an informed decision made about the next bond vote. The timeline, if you will, is to gather some input from community members. The board has scheduled a retreat on August 16th. The architect and construction manager will come in with the board and have that retreat to present data on the survey, on the facility assessments, which include programming assessments, and really start to identify high-level priorities as it relates to asset management. So they have a couple of different segments. So they'll have priorities that are related to sustaining the asset. You know, when you're talking boilers and things like that, they'll have some timelines and priorities. And then the board will be able to see that as an entirety and make decisions on what things we want to highlight in the next bond ask, and when that next bond ask will be, and for how much. So ideally, in August, we'll have that presentation. We'll probably meet back again with the board. If there's any additional information you'd like us to gather from August to December, or if you'd like another community outreach or survey, we would do it in that time frame. And then the architect and construction manager would get direction on what you would like to include as part of that bond sale and that ballot language, and they will go start to estimate that and create very minimal renderings for you that can then become part of our informational campaign, which we hope to have approval from the board about January of 25. What that will look like when we're going to ask, when we're going to go on the ballot. The recommendation's been August of 24.
24.
If it's going to be August, and for how much. So the community members actually approved the total dollar amount, not the millage rate, which is why I think it's so important in these community engagement sessions to talk about our history of 20 plus years having 3.1 mills and trying to maintain that, even though that's not what they're actually approving on the ballot. So it's kind of gaining that trust and getting a feel for the community and where they're at with this.
So basically, you're just continuing, they're not gonna see a fluctuation in their taxes.
You could say that. Yeah, it's not technically called a renewal, just for legal terminology. But we would ask for additional dollar authorization that we could sell bonds in series over 10 years, and have them paid back in 10 years and not raise the millage rate. With the thought process that if something were to happen with the housing market, or, you know, we've seen increases of upward of almost 9%. So if we didn't do anything and didn't ask for another authorization, our millage rate would drop below 3.1 mills in the next year. And we'd like to maintain that 3.1. But going forward, the anticipated promise, if you will, to the taxpayers is we'll maintain 3.1, which could mean in the future that you change up how you sell bonds and when, which we've had to do in the past. You might have to delay a sale if property taxes aren't seeing those increases. the property values aren't seeing those increases like we did back in like 2011, 12. We had an anticipated sale planned, but in order to keep that sale with current property values, we would have had to increase the millage rate, so we delayed it.
And then hope like everything that inflation doesn't drive you as well.
Yeah.
Is the timeline that you just laid out for us verbally, is that written down anywhere? or
So
is it-
that's what, I'm almost ready to
Okay.
be able to share that with you and then put it on the website. There's a couple tweaks we've been making with the architects and construction managers. But yeah, we're close.
Okay, great, because that was a lot of information, a lot of kind of months and,
Yeah,
you know.
it's a lot. We're like full into creating that 3 to 5 year capital bond plan, facilities plan. And there's additional things that we're doing beside that specific RFP or that hire of those entities. We're also doing some work in facilities and maintenance as it relates to hiring a consultant. I don't know if you remember Shannon Flummerfelt, but she's a lean consultant. She's been working directly with facilities, trying to incorporate into that 3 to 5 year plan how that impacts them and what we want to incorporate and bring to the board as a presentation of their plan of operating and maintaining our facilities. So it's really kind of a couple, maybe a 3-legged stool with all the things going on to create that plan.
Okay. Ooh, that's quite an undertaking. I mean, I know your office will be busy with that for the next couple of years. Okay, next item. You probably covered some of this, but it looks like we're doing bond sale update.
Yep, just an update that our bond sale date is May 4th, and so that's the 32 million out of the 2018 authorization that we're selling. And just bringing to your attention, as part of that bond sale, we're required to get a bond rating. We did that through S&P Global. They did affirm our AA- rate with a stable outlook. I was really looking forward to an upgrade, but as John shared with me, many school districts in the state of Michigan are being downgraded, and so maintaining that excellent rate is good news for us. It certainly makes our bonds more attractable. And the bond sale resolution, just bringing to your attention that it's an item that's going to go direct to the board instead of finance and then the board, because the sale's on the 4th. We'll bring it to the May 8th Board of Education meeting for approval. It just solidifies the actual bids we got and the decisions we're making as far as how we're selling them.
And we're working with a little bit of a timeline there.
Yes,
So,
yep.
So going straight to board.
So it'll tell you, who we sold it to, what the interest rate is, the terms, and that. We'll review that on the 8th.
Does that tend to go out in big chunks, basically?
Not our bonds. Typically, no. Our bonds are pretty well sought after, and they're usually swept up in a whole. Am I right with that,
Yeah,
Wes?
we're doing a competitive sale, so an underwriter will bid for the entire package, and then they have entities that probably will be buying them from the underwriter. But we'll just have one underwriter that buys the entire lot of our bonds.
It'd be interesting to see that diagrammed out, just so you can kind of get a sense of how the process follows.
Yeah, we did, when we went out for the 2018, I don't know if you recall, but we did a negotiated sale to involve the community and do that education of how that works. We had community members that bought direct, so that was a fun thing to go through. Right now, with the way the market is, competitive is a recommended method from our financial advisor, just because of our credit rating and the size of them. Plus, it's very attractable that we have 10-year terms.
Okay. Would it be appropriate now? I don't know if I think this has been spoken about at other times, but our finance department just received an award of distinction.
Yep.
Christine, you want to talk about that for a
Yeah,
second?
certificate of financial reporting, and so we voluntarily participate with ASBO. Remind me what it stands for, please. I have a cold, and so I'm going to blame that for all of my missteps.
For all the acronym.
Association of School Business Officials. So we voluntarily submit our annual report. It's a glorified audit. So we do what's above and beyond what's required as far as transparency goes, and what we submit our report. We got an award. This is our 18th consecutive year for getting that award, and this is the first year that we've gotten no comments from auditors, which is a huge celebration. It's frustrating every now and again to get those comments back. It's like, really, it just seems like there's got to be a comment every time. So it's a huge celebration this year. And I'll tell you, Sandy and Wes have been participating in this from its inception. And so they do a phenomenal job, and it's something to be celebrated. To go above and beyond to provide that transparency to our community and to get commendations on it is very impressive.
Yes. Well, congratulations. Thank you for all the hard work. That's a tough business there.
I second it.
Yeah. Okay, any other items?
I was gonna move on to finance update. That's the last one. So, this typically is, an update related to, our budget, and actually, several hours ago, we got the Senate's version of, a budget. So we have received the governor's proposal for next year's fiscal budget. And we've analyzed that, but we've been kind of stagnant for several months, not getting the Senate and the House versions. So the Senate came out today. We're hoping, and we have heard that the House will come out tomorrow. It's looking like the Senate has a little bit more on the foundation allowance, not substantially more, that it would actually balance the budget that we've put in front of you with 150 student decline. But it's going to be those categoricals that we'll need to analyze once we have a final budget to see how they impact our overall budget. It's looking like the mental health money and the safety and security money was in the governor's. It's in the Senate. Will likely be in the House. So we'll get that information and do an analysis. We unfortunately don't have time to come out and just show you the analysis at the next board finance meeting, because you actually need to approve our budget at the next one. We usually have some time in there to kind of evaluate the 3 different scenarios, but the next board finance and then board meeting will be approving the original budget. And so we'll share information with you, as I'm sure Dr. Van Wagner will, but the next presentation will be of the final amendment of this current year budget, and then the original budget for 23-24.
Are we in pretty good shape?
I think we're in pretty good shape.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah. It's all those caveats, right, that you have to really dig into. We always advocate that it's on the foundation, any increases, because that's our unrestricted funds and gives us the most flexibility. We do appreciate the categoricals. It just makes it a little bit harder to see how it impacts your bottom line because there's restrictions.
Yeah, okay.
And we are hoping for transportation still,
I was wondering.
in the House tomorrow. We're hearing, some optimism, but, still yet to be seen. So we're trying to fight for that categorical still.
So there'll be an update on this all May 8th at the next board meeting?
No, it'll be at the next finance, which
Finance
is May 31st. That's technically our June finance, so May 31st. We'll give you the update and a little bit of a comparison, but the bottom line is we'll show you our recommended original budget based on how we think the 3 will land if we don't know.
All right. Anything else? Any other items from the floor?
No?
All right. Okay, so then, as just previously stated, our next board finance meeting will be May 31st in this room at 8 a.m.
Yes.
8 a.m. I think there was an adjustment made because of the retirement reception that
In the
afternoon.
afternoon, yep.
Okay. All right. I say we stand
don't have to
adjourned.
Do cookie sales.